Today we're moving on to 7.2, which is the second chapter in the unit that we're working on. Yesterday we solved two equations by graphing, and we were looking at where those two lines did what? Where they intersected. And it was loads of fun, wasn't it? Yeah, we had to get in y equals mx plus b. We had to find the slope. We had to find the y-intercept. It was loads of fun, wasn't it? Especially when our y-intercept was like 15 and negative 15, and it was great, wasn't it? Loads of fun. It was easy. Yeah, I'm being really sarcastic. Some kids really like graphing because they like to visually see where those two lines intersect. Today you're going to learn substitution. It does the same thing. We're going to try to find out where those two lines intersect, but we're not graphing it. We're going to use something called substitution. Now, when I'm gone from school in a day, what happens? Besides you celebrating, what happens? Besides celebrating. You have a sub, right? So you're taking me out and you're putting in a substitute, right? That's what substitution is. We take one thing out and we put something else in for that. That's what that means. It's kind of like a puzzle piece. I'm taking one puzzle piece out and I'm putting something else in for it. Okay? So let's take a look at the first problem. Now, you'll notice I have two equations. So I have two lines. And I'm trying to see where they intersect with all that graphing stuff. So do you notice that the first equation says x equals, do you see that? Okay, so this is what you're going to do. And I want you to actually do this when you're doing your assignment. I want you to circle what x equals. Notice it says x equals. Because you say x equals, you're going to circle the x in the other equation. Do you see that? If I said y equals, I would circle the y. But I didn't say that. I said x equals, so I'm going to circle the x. Okay, so far we're okay? All right, this is huge. This is like, you're going to love this. You're going to use this method like forever in math classes. I'm going to take what x equals and I'm going to plug it into the x. So now watch what happens. I'm going to take my 3 from that equation. I'm going to go parentheses and I'm going to put in what I circled. So minus 2y plus 2 parentheses. So I took the x out, that's Mrs. Medvec, and I'm putting in, sure, all of those people, okay? But I'm going to put another person in, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down that other stuff, plus y equals 16. Do you notice now that I only have one variable in my equation? I have y. I got rid of x by doing a substitute. Okay, so now I'm going to solve this. I'm going to distribute. So 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, and then I'm going to do a y plus 3 times 2 is 6 plus y equals 16. Notice that we're using all those algebra skills we've been working on. Okay? Yeah, that's why I like hammer you and hammer you and hammer you on all those algebra skills, because we're going to use them. Right now, I'm going to combine like terms. What do I get? Correct. I'm going to get negative 5y, because negative 6 plus a 1y is negative 5y. Plus 6 equals 16. Now remember, I want my variables on one side, and I want my numbers on the other. So what do? I'm going to subtract 6. Now, everyone should be taking notes. Remember, math is not a spectator sport. Got to make sure to write down. Good. Right? So I get negative 5y equals what? 10. Very good. And then I divide by negative 5. Y gives me negative 2. Now, I'm checking to see where these two lines intersect. Did I find that? No, I only found what the y is. I need to find out what the x is, right? So this is how you're going to do it. You're going to take, if you'll notice, the first equation. Do you see how it says x equals? We're going to use that equation now. So I'm going to write underneath that, write x equals negative 2y plus 2. I'm going to take that from up here, and I'm going to bring that down here. And I'm going to use it because it's going to work out perfect. I could use any equation. It doesn't matter. But this is probably the best one to use, right? So I'm going to go x equals negative 2. I'm going to put in negative 2 for y because I just solved for y. X equals, what do I get here? 4 plus 2. X gives me 6. So my ordered pair then is 6 comma negative 2. And that's where those two lines intersect. Now, let's say I get that answer, but I'm taking a test, and boy, I want to do really well on my test. How do I make sure that this is the correct answer? I need to do a check, don't I? Which equations do I use for the check? Both of them, right? And I plug the ordered pair 6, negative 2 into the original problems. And how would it work in both of them or just one of them? It'd have to work in both. If it only worked in one, what? You did something wrong. Don't write no solution. You are having a solution on these, and it should work. Okay? Questions on this? Do you remember doing this last year? Yeah? Good. Awesome. No? All right. Hopefully it'll come back. All right. Let's take a look at number 2. Right? Notice that the first equation, does it say x equals or y equals? It doesn't. What about the second equation? It says y equals, doesn't it? So we're going to circle everything that y equals. And I want you to do that on your homework because kids are not doing that last hour and then they're wondering why it didn't work. All right, so if it's y equals, what do I circle in the first equation? I'm going to circle y. And I'm going to plug it in. Right? So now I'm going to go to that first equation. I'm going to go 5x minus 4, parentheses, and I'm going to put in everything that I circled. 6x plus 5, parentheses, and then I'm going to finish that equation. Questions? Okay. Now, one thing to be careful for, do you see how there's a negative 4 in front of the parentheses? You might want to do a chop chi there because students are not distributing all that negative number. All right, so let's distribute. I end up with 5x plus negative 4 times 6x gives me negative 24x. Plus, because that's my middle sign in my parentheses, negative 4 times 5 is negative 20, and that equals negative 1. What step do I do next? Combine my like terms. So 5x plus a negative 24x gives me negative 19x, right? I want my variables on one side. I want my numbers on the other. So what do? Add 20. Very good. So negative 19x equals 19. Now what do I do? Very good. Divide by negative 19. X gives me negative 1. Am I done? Why? I want to be done. I got to find y of the ordered pair, right? So which equation do I choose from up above? The second one, y equals, because it's ready to go. I don't have to. I could choose the first one. I'd get the same answer, but I'm going to choose the second one. Y equals 6x plus 5. So I'm going to take that equation. Y equals 6 times -1. So I'm going to put in that -1. Y equals -6 plus 5. Y equals -1. Am I done? No, I'm not. I need to do my ordered pairs. Don't forget that. That's what I have a lot of people not do. Because remember, I'm finding out where those two lines, that's correct. It's where they intersect. I'm doing the same thing as graphing. Same thing, different method. What's nice is like if you have a tool belt, you have lots of tools in your tool belt, lots of tools in your tool chest. Some tools are better to use in different situations. So I gave you a graphing tool. Now I'm giving you a substitution tool. And later I'm going to give you an elimination tool. Now you get to choose, and you can choose your favorite. And when you're looking at an ACT test, boy, it's nice to have lots of tools and be comfortable with them. Okay, that's why we're doing this. Questions on this one? Okay, let's keep going. This is the second one, or the third problem, I should say. Look at the first equation. Is it an x equals or a y equals? No, it's not. Take a look at the second equation. Is it an x equals or a y equals? It's not that either. It doesn't say x equals or y equals. Okay, so this is what we do. If you look at the first equation, do you see how there's a 4 in front of the x? Okay, do you see there's a -2 in front of the y? If I solved for those, I could end up with some fractions, and I don't like that. Makes me nervous. I could, but I could end up with a fraction. Look at the second equation. You'll notice the 2 is paired with the x, but do you see how the y, what number's in front of it? A 1. That won't cause a problem. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the second equation. I'm going to subtract 2x. So I get y equals -2x minus 3. Notice I don't have any fractions. And it's really easy. All I needed to do was subtract my x, and I'm good to go. Now I'm going to circle what y equaled. And what do I circle in the other equation? The y. And I'm going to plug that in for it. Okay, so now let's look at the first equation. 4x minus 2, parentheses, I'm going to put in all that I circled. Okay, don't forget your chop chi. It's going to make it easier for you. What's my next step? I'm going to distribute. So 4x plus what? Yep, -2 times -2 is 4x. Okay, minus -2 times 3 is -6. And remember, that's like a chop. You don't have to do chop. If you can see it being +6, I'm fine with that. Some students can't. And so it's just fine to have the minus, turn it into the chop, and you're good to go. So whatever works for you, I'm okay with. All right, now what would be my next step? Combine like terms. So I've got 8x plus 6 equals 14. What's my next move? Subtract 6. 8x equals 8. Now what? Divide by 8. X equals 1. I'm done, right? All done. My work's done. I need to find y. Excellent. So what do? I have a y equals equation up here, don't I? I did the work. So let's use that equation. Y equals negative 2x minus 3. I have that good to go. Let's use it. So y equals negative 2 times 1 minus 3. Y equals negative 2 minus 3. Y gives me negative 5. Am I done? Y. Ordered pairs. 1 comma negative 5. And again, that's where the two lines intersect. Okay? And if I wanted to make sure my answer was correct, I would check it in both equations. And the last problem will actually check it. I want to show you how to do it just to make sure you know how to do it. Okay? Questions? Okay, let's look at this last problem. In the first equation, do I have an x equals or a y equals? I do not. How about the second equation? I do not. Now, which equation do you think I should change so that I can start substituting? What do you think? The first one. Okay, now, which one do I solve for? Do I get an x equals or do I get a y equals? I like the y equals because that's what we're used to. But technically, I could do x equals also. I could. But I like the y equals because that's kind of what we've been doing when we graph. So I'm going to subtract x on both sides of that equation, and I get y equals negative x plus 5. Okay? Now, just because I have it in that form does not mean that I'm going to graph. It's just kind of nice to have it in that form. Now, I've got y equals, so I'm going to circle it. And what variable do I circle in my second equation? The y, because I said y equals. So I'm going to circle my y, and I'm going to plug that in. Right? So 7x minus 9y equals 3. I'm going to write my equation down. 7x minus 9, and I'm going to plug in what x equals. And what am I not going to forget? Chop chi. Do I always have to do chop chi? Not necessarily, but that 9 is negative in front of the parentheses. So it might be a good idea to do that. Okay, so I'm going to distribute 7x plus what? Very good. 9x plus negative 45 equals 3. Very good. Okay, now what do I do? Very good. I distributed. Now I'm going to combine like terms. So I get 16x plus a negative 45 equals 3. What do I do? I'm going to add 45. So 16x gives me 48. Divide by 16. Very good. X equals 3. Am I done? No, I need to find y. Now, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I love doing this compared to graphing. Graphing just takes forever. This actually, if your algebra is good, you just fly through it. It's kind of fun in a weird sort of way. Okay, so we're going to take this equation now, and we're going to plug it into that y equals that I've already done. So y equals negative x plus 5. Y equals negative 3 plus 5. Y gives me 2. My ordered pair then is 3 comma 2. Okay, and that is my answer. Now, remember what we said. If I want to make sure that these are correct, I should what? I should do my check. If it's an MCA or an NWEA or your ACT or your plan test, if you got the time, check it, because you can make sure that it's okay. So this is what you do for a check, and you only have to check if either they ask for it or it's a high stakes test. you take the original problem. So you take x plus y equals 5, and you take the other equation, 7x minus 9y equals 3. And what you're going to do is you're going to take that ordered pair. So I got the ordered pair, 3, 2. I'm going to plug in 3 plus 2 equals 5. Does 5 equal 5? Yes. So far, so good. Plug in the next one. 7 times 3 minus 9 times 2 equals 3. 21 minus 18 equals 3. 3 equals 3. Whew. So it's a 1 solution, and I'm good to go. Now, if this doesn't check, do I write no solution? No. If it doesn't check, you did something wrong. Now, there will be a time where your answer will be a no solution, 1 solution, or many solution. We're getting there. We're not there yet. So right now, your lines will cross. You will have an ordered pair, and they should check. But if they don't, you need to do something about it. Okay? Now, your love of knowledge for today, I know, you love your knowledge, is going to be on page 439, and I'm going to have you do 3 through 17. All right? Make sure that you get your assignment done from last night in the box. I'll be coming around and collecting it.